Hey, my love. So this is the second part of my series. The first part asked about the red flags that I ignored in my prior relationship, and I talked about the red flag in the relationship with my ex-boyfriend that was an MIT graduate. And so this time around, I'm gonna talk about the red flags that I ignored and went ahead and started dating my ex-boyfriend, who happens to be the German president of an international company. But he was based in Nashville when I met him. And so we ended up dating for 2 years, and he wanted to get married, but in the end, I decided that I couldn't be married to him. So when I first met him, he was very charming. I liked the fact that he was very cultured. We would go to the symphony and to the opera, and we would travel all over the world. And interestingly then, there were these groups online that would talk about me and talk about my online stores, and they thought that he was a Russian billionaire. I have some pictures of some of our travels. Sometimes I go with my youngest son, we'll travel to Barcelona. His family had a 3,000 acre in property in Mallorca. They produce organic wine, olive oil. They had chefs, they had indoor swimming pool, outdoor swimming pool. I mean, it was it was very luxurious. But of course, when I met him in Nashville, and got to know him, and I thought he was a smart, well-educated. His master's is from Scotland, and but as I began to know him and the relationship progressed, I began seeing red flags that I did not like. For instance, he would tell me that I should leave my job as a professor, that the money I was making was insignificant and it was worthless. I would do better quitting my job and traveling, because as the president of an international company, he traveled a lot. And, I would try as much as possible to travel with him. So like I'll finish my classes on Thursday, and he'll send me the ticket to meet him in France, or to meet him in London, or to meet him in Switzerland for the weekend, or to meet him in Paris for the weekend. And I will go ahead and fly out and meet him for the weekend and come back on Monday, and then go to my lecture the following day. It wasn't enough for him. He wanted me to stop working, such that if he had an assignment in Europe for 3 months, I'll be with him the whole 3 months. And not only that, I could not see myself having a guy write me an allowance every month. I mean, because if you have a guy that writes you a check as an allowance for every month, you are essentially at his beck and call. I mean, if I want to buy, let's say, a vintage car, like the 1926 vintage car that I bought, I mean, I'll have to ask him for the money, and my buying it will be dependent on whether he will agree to write me the check for the car or not. And to me, that would impinge on my independence. So I did not want to do that, and that was a point of contention between us, because he wanted me to quit my job. He did not like me doing fashion. He did not like me having my online stores, and he will always say, I'm giving you the world, I'm taking you all over the world. That should be enough for you. That should have been a red flag. Another red flag is that when he would take me shopping, he would buy what he wanted So I'm about 5'7", 5'6", 5'7". And then when I wear heels, I love heels, as you all know from my channels. I love 5-inch, 6-inch, 7-inch heels. And if I have my afro, I will tower over him. And so he was about 5'9". And so he didn't like that. So he will go to France, or we go to London, or we go to Bellagio in Las Vegas. And he would say, come on, I'll take you shopping. So we go to Giorgio Armani or Versace or Chanel. He always makes sure to buy me these kitten heels that cost us of money that I didn't want, because he wanted to buy heels that he felt comfortable with, not heels that I wanted. And that should have been a red flag, but I kept my mouth shut and thanked him for the gifts. And another red flag would be telling me that what I like to do doesn't matter. Like my fashion, he always would talk about the amount of money I was making from, you know, my online fashions, and compare with what he was making, and he will always tell me that it was insignificant. I don't think it's healthy for one to be in a relationship where even though there are little achievements, or, you know, depending on the scale or depending on what you're comparing it to, I think it's important to be in a relationship where whatever achievements you have are appreciated by your partner. And so those were some of the red flags in the relationship that I ignored, that eventually became too much for me, and I ended the relationship. One of the meanest things that I remember was that the first time we went to Germany to his parents' house, because I have online businesses and I respond to my clients, you know, through emails and stuff like that. When we got there, I asked him whether the parents had whether the parents had internet, and he lied. He looked at me and lied to my face and said no, they did not have internet. And so the first time, that first visit, I could not communicate with my clients. And then the next time, I happened to be talking to the mom, and she was like, yeah, you can connect to the internet. And so all the time I was there for the first visit, they did not, he lied to me. They had internet, but he told me they didn't. And when I confronted him about it, he was like, well, I wanted you to spend time with me and not be on your laptop answering emails. Meanwhile, wherever we traveled to, if he had a work call, he would take it, regardless of if we were at dinner or whatever, he would take the call. But he told me he didn't tell me that they had internet because he didn't want me being glued to my laptop. And so that was a wake up for me, and that was mind-boggling. And the last thing, we were in Barcelona, and he took me to this very swanky restaurant. I'm talking about, the restaurant had a 16-course meal. And you know, they have courses with shaved gold on them that you could eat. I mean, quite frankly, after the 16-course meal, I was hungry. I wanted, like, you know, like fish and chips or something like that, because yeah, I could talk about the course. But anyway, yeah, I mean, the food was good, but you know, I was, yeah, they had a course where I think they'll have an orange infusion, and you're supposed to smell it, and that will be a course. And then there was one, they'll have a spoonful of stuff that looked like mousse, and you're supposed to eat it. It's supposed to clean your palate. Well, anyway, so after the meal, I wanted to go for a walk, and we went for a walk, and there was somebody that was smoking. And, you know, we were talking, or we stopped to look at some, I don't know what it was that we were looking at, and there was somebody smoking beside us. And so I inhaled some of the smoke, and I'm very, very sensitive to cigarette smoke, because I have asthma, sensitivity. And so I take inhaler for that. And so when we got back to the hotel, I was coughing, and that's one of the reactions I get to being around smoke. So it was late at night when we got back to the hotel and we were in bed and I was coughing. And he turned to me and he was like, "Could you please stop with your coughing? I'm trying to sleep." I was quite frankly shocked. And that was the moment I knew that the relationship would not continue. And so I broke off with him. He came back again, and then he took me on a trip to France and did all that. But, deep down in my heart, I knew that that relationship was not going to survive when he said that to me, because that showed me that he was uncaring. I mean, if your partner is coughing, you should be worried about why they're coughing, not telling them to stop coughing as if it's something that is voluntary and as if it's something that they could stop, instead of, taking care to see why they were actually coughing. And so, after that comment to me, I knew that the relationship would not work. And interestingly, we were on our way to Mallorca when he said that. I did go with him to Mallorca, and I did tell him that I didn't think the relationship was going to work. And my youngest son was with us on the trip. But I told him, we'll go to Mallorca for the parents' wedding anniversary. We'll be friendly. He'll stay on his side of the bed, I'll stay on my side. And then when we got back to America, we were done. And so we went to Mallorca, spent 10 days in Mallorca. It was the most uncomfortable 10 days I had ever spent. And we were in this lush place. There were so many private villa for his family, wife, and the wife is married to the president of a German company, or the owner of a German company. So, you had the housekeeper, you had the chef, it was a beautiful place, but the beauty of the place was sort of subdued for me because of, the fact that I couldn't be free. We were essentially not in a relationship, but we were trying to make sure that his family did not see and my son did not see, because my son was with me on that trip. And so there you have it. And that's all the mentionable red flags that I can think of that I've had in my recent relationship. So if you have any more questions, let me know and I'll be happy to answer them. And till next time, you all continue to take care. You all make sure you watch out for the red flags, and hope to see you all soon. So kisses from far away, kisses from far away, kisses from far away. Que mercia.